Servus and welcome to the Bundesliga show, the Thursday evening edition of the predictions ahead of match week 28 of this Bundesliga season. It feels like it's been a while since we were here, hasn't it? Obviously, we had that 10-11 day break due to the internationals. Quite some pretty interesting games as well across the board in the internationals, but we're definitely looking forward to getting the Bundesliga back ahead of this week. Obviously, no Friday fixture this week due to the Karfreitag, as they say in German, the Good Friday kind of, what would you call it? Like pause, basically. You know, we know the Germans are very kind of, religious kind of people, and they like to celebrate their Karfreitag and eat their fish without any Bundesliga kind of disruption. So how are you over there, Peter, in the sunnier climes of the US?
Well, yes, happy Easter, Mark. It is, Karfreitag, the day of coming. Well, no, that would be Palm Sunday is when he went into Jerusalem. Forgive me,
you know more than me about this, Peter.
I studied such things. I did indeed. So, but let's not talk about Jesus. Let's talk about football. The one true religion, as it so happens. It's good to be here with you.
Modern religion.
Yes, indeed. Joining you here from across the pond, which you will be coming to visit, pending we don't say anything.
Yeah, the land of the free. Show me the land of the free, Peter. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting back to my Bundesrepublik. And, well, I shouldn't say anything about your so-called land of the free assessment here, because I don't want to get your visa application revoked, Mark.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Anyway, yeah, so less about religion and more about football. So, yeah, as I've already mentioned, there aren't going to be any Friday fixtures this week. But before we get started, let's just have a look at our fantastic partnerships as well. Don't forget Covert Footy Trips, for all of you like kind of football/travel lovers like Peter and I. Check out Covert Footy Trips on Instagram. Fantastic company that can book all of your tickets and hotels in Germany and all over the world pretty much nowadays. And don't forget, we're also in partnership with Bully News as well. Bullynews.com. Check them out for all of your English language Bundesliga news. So, yeah, no Friday, Peter, no kind of curtain raiser this weekend. So we're straight into the Halbvier kickoffs on Saturday, aren't we? I do find it a bit weird that they have no football on Good Friday, but they do have football on Easter Sunday. That seems a little bit kind of like, counterproductive in some ways. It'd be pretty good if they just do it all on like Halbvier on a Saturday for one weekend, wouldn't it? That'd be pretty cool. But it isn't going to be like that. But we are getting a good kind of taste of football on Saturday this weekend. We got 5 or 6 games actually? Yeah, looks though we got 6 Halbvier kickoffs this weekend, which is fantastic to see. We've got no top spiel as well. No, we have got a top spiel. Sorry, we have got a top spiel, and then we got 2 Sunday games as well. Yeah, a little bit confusing this weekend, but let's kick off with what is quite an interesting first match on our calendar. It's obviously Bayer 04 Leverkusen against struggling VfL Wolfsburg. It is obviously, Peter, it's Bayer versus Volkswagen in this game. I always like to say that when it's 2 of the company clubs going head to head. But I'll let you kick us off, Peter. Who's looking better in this one? And can Wolfsburg finally get that elusive win on the board?
No, they cannot. This is, yes, I refer to these 2 teams as the company teams. Germany's green company team would be Wolfsburg, obviously, and Germany's red company team is Bayer, the pharmaceutical giant. Disappointed to read some of these Kasper Hjulmand sacking rumors. I guess now that Denmark may be in the market for a new coach, Leverkusen are disappointed with his performances. It's a shame because I had just almost perfected my Kasper Hjulmand impersonation. He's very, wir spielen mit Pop und Schnelligkeit und Power. I really. The Danes are like those. They're like those English people that don't know how to pronounce the word schedule, the ones that may schedule.
Yeah, schedule, yeah.
I don't know. But I mean, this is really a mismatch. Wolfsburg, I believe, and I say this with confidence now, are going to be relegated from the Bundesliga finally at long last. Maybe they make the relegation playoff spot. And that's simply because this Dieter Hecking appointment was all wrong from the get-go. This is, they might as well have brought in Felix Magath. It would have done probably just as much good. Hecking just got Bochum relegated last year. He also failed to get Nuremberg and HSV promoted. And, he has got a team full of Danes that are coming back on a tight turnaround, quite in poor spirits after failing to qualify for the World Cup and going a full 120 minutes against the Czech Republic. So, yeah, this is a mismatch on paper, and I'm going to go ahead and give it the same scoreline as we had in the Hinrunde, a 3-1 win for Germany's red company team.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look beyond the hosts, isn't it, in this game? I mean, Wolfsburg, I tipped them to win the last game against Werder, but I didn't think they were terrible in the game against Werder Bremen, but ultimately it wasn't enough, was it? I mean, obviously they were turned over in that game, and I think a lot of good saves from Milo Backhaus in that game, particularly in the first half. So they weren't terrible, but ultimately that was a game they had to win, really. They had to get points on the board in that match against a Werder side who, have not really impressed the whole season, truth be told. This game is much tougher. I'm also a little bit shocked to hear about the sacking rumours about Hjulman, because even though the football's not been anywhere near as exciting as what they obviously played under Alonso, I felt as though he's relatively stabilised the club. And I think, obviously, considering the kind of mess that they were in going into after the first two games, after sacking Erik ten Hag, I mean, I think he's done okay. I don't think he's pulled up any trees, but he's going to get them back into Europe, which a lot of people thought wasn't going to happen. It might not be the Champions League, but the Europa League is still okay for Leverkusen, really, I feel. And they've had a new team to kind of blend. And I feel as though things have got better for them. I think the likes of Kafane have grown into the season, probably Matza as well. I think he's really bled him through well. I mean, Tillman has been hot and cold, hasn't he, at times? But for me, they will have too much for this Leverkusen side, for this Wolfsburg side. And I think they're going to get a 2-0 win here, which would push the VfL closer and closer to the drop, wouldn't it? Which would be probably, many Germans are not going to be overly sad to see that happen, let's just say. Anyway, moving on. So we've got an interesting Süd derby as well. Two south-based teams, one based in Bavaria and one in Baden-Württemberg. We've got Freiburg versus Bayern. It's Bayern Day at the Europa Park, isn't it? I'm sure it'll be a great atmosphere over there, Peter. So what are the scores on the doors for this one?
Well, how about our Breisgauer? How about our Breisgauer? How about our Breisgauer?
Münster und Tannental, hier sind wir daheim. Ob Bayern, Preußen oder Schwaben.
Had to put some tunes on for you there. In any event, Freiburg are, of course, flying high after that amazing run of form just prior to the international break, in which, I mean, that Europa League victory at home was so touching on so many levels. I mean, you had Vincenzo Grifo breaking the club's all-time scoring record. You had Julian Schuster getting emotional about his appointment. You had Matthäus Ginter, who probably should be on the German national team at this point in place of Nico Schlotterbeck. Really just turning in an absolute lights-out performance. And then, just a couple of days later, they pulled out an excellent victory in the league. That win over St. Pauli, which is most unfortunate. Kieskecker. They really blew one of their best opportunities to pick up some points. We have declared the title race over on this channel. If Freiburg are capable of pulling off a huge upset here, things could be slightly different, believe it or not. I mean, Dortmund could draw within 6 points, provided they Bayern lose and they win. Of course, we have to talk about the fact that Harry Kane may not be available for this one. I believe he's carrying an injury coming back from the international break. So Freiburg are going to have a fresher squad, and that should make a difference. What we saw in the Hinrunde, as you may recall, this particular match, Freiburg jumped out to a 2-0 lead before Bayern scored 6 answered goals.
Yeah.
It's entirely plausible that something like this happens here. And I'm so tempted to pick an upset here. I would so absolutely, I'm a Freiburg member. I enjoyed taking you down there. We have that song. Did I ever introduce you to the band Strichpunkt?
No, I don't remember them.
They have a wonderful, wonderful song. Wir wollen nur eure Ja für unser SC. Für unser SC Freiburg. Shalala ole. It goes a little something like We'll be listening to that in the ground hopping mobile next time I come pick you up, whether we're headed to a match or not. You don't really have a choice in the matter. Mark.
I like that one. Yeah, that's another good one to kind of
to rock to an RPM.
Another one to add to our repertoire, so to speak. Our growing repertoire. Yeah.
Indeed. So I think it'll make a difference. I think we'll actually see our Breisgauer get off to a strong start here, and I think that they will keep this one close. Unfortunately, the fact that Harry Kane may not be in the lineup may not make that big of a difference. So he can come off the bench, and we know how deadly he is off the bench, and he's going to want to play. He's chasing that Robert Lewandowski scoring record, and he's not going to let anything get in his way. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 away win for the German record champions in this one.
Yeah, it is a tough one to tip, this one, because obviously Bayern players have been basically all over the world over the last few days. I think France were in the US, weren't they, over your end, Peter? I think France played Brazil and Colombia in the US. So obviously Michael Elise, Upamecano would have been over there. As you say, Harry Kane didn't take part in either of the England games much to England's disappointment as well, because they were absolutely terrible in both games, to be honest. But I think it could be a weaker Bayern team. Also with Champions League, let's not forget we got Champions League next midweek too, which is ultimately what Bayern's season is going to be kind of evaluated on, really. This two-legged tie against Real Madrid. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a weaker 11. Although one thing I will say is that under Vincent Kompany, he seems to have gone strong in almost every game this season. He doesn't seem to be one that likes to rotate really much at all. Obviously, they've got so many good players, but I feel as though rotation hasn't been huge at times. Like, we've not seen many fringe players in the squad this year. Obviously, we've seen the kind of birth of Leonard Carl, but that was mostly because Musiala was injured, really, for no other reason. So I feel as though when he has the possibility, he goes strong, really. And I think Nicholas Jackson has only started a couple of games the whole season. It's not been many. A few in the Pokal, I think a couple of dead rubbers in the Champions League, and maybe one or two Bundesliga games, but not many this season. But I think we could see him in this game. But as you say, Peter, I'm not sure it's really going to affect Bayern, because everything's just running so well with them. Even though Freiburg, obviously these two teams, we've got our hopes up for European glory this year, let's not forget as well. So both of these two teams have got bigger fish to fry, really, this season, with the massive quarterfinals coming up next week. I think as a result, both teams will just kind of let their hair down and just try and play in this game. So I think we'll see a few goals in my eyes. So I can also see Freiburg starting off fast and getting in the lead, but I just feel as though Bayern's attack is just too good at the minute, regardless of the personnel who are out there on the pitch. So I've gone for a 4-2 Bayern away win in this one. I think we might see a few fireworks and a few goals in this match. So let's move on. Who have we got now? We've got another interesting game, an important match at both ends. We've got Werder Bremen versus RB Leipzig, haven't we? So I mean, this is an important game at both ends of the table. Werder still in 14th place, 4 points clear currently at that relegation playoff, which St. Pauli are currently occupying, but still not saved by any means. I mean, a bad weekend of results could turn everything around for them and put them back in the dogfight. As for Leipzig, obviously looking a bit better now, into the top 4 for the first time in quite a while, actually. After that 5-0 thrashing of Hoffenheim, they leapfrogged the TSG into that 4th place, that Champions League spot. So, I mean, for me, the performance that Leipzig put in against the TSG was their performance of the season. I thought they were superb in the game, to be honest. I thought it was a very strong performance. Baumgartner now onto 12 league goals for the season from midfield, which is outstanding numbers. Diomande just continues to play really well. And I think the other one we've got to credit is Gruder as well. I think Gruder has definitely made a difference since joining in January. I thought he was really good with a couple of goals as well in the game. As for Werder, obviously they won 3 out of the last 4 now, but I feel as though there's still they should have beaten those opposition ultimately. So I think they were only results that they were expected to get in many ways. So I'm not sure we can really say that they're back or anything yet. I think obviously there've been a few improved performances from the likes of Jens Stage. Romano Schmid has come back into a bit of form. But it's still not. It's probably just going to be enough to save them ultimately under Daniel Thune. I hope my pronunciation's a bit better this time for you, Peter. Yeah. Obviously, the big news for them as well was the return from injury of Victor Boniface. But I thought it was quite interesting that Thune, his first interview, he basically said he's better get himself into some shape. So I think he's better lay off those McDonald's and those. Maybe we might see him before the end of the season in a Werder shirt again. But as for the game, I strongly fancy the away side in this match. I think it's going to be a game that brings the Werder back down to earth a little bit. I can see Leipzig finishing strong and probably getting in that top 4 from what we've seen the last few games. And this is going to be the first step along the way to that. And I think they're going to get a 2-0 win in Bremen. What do you think, Peter?
Well, you stole my thunder with the Victor Boniface McDonald's references. As a matter of fact, when I first I was on shift and I read that story, I couldn't believe it. I thought to myself, this is incredible. Everybody wanted him to be done with Werder. Everybody wanted him out of the spotlight. No more cryptic social media posts. No more craziness. But yes, Mark has listened to my instructions. On this pod, I have repeatedly implored Mark not to take Victor Boniface out to McDonald's when he calls you up at 3 o'clock.
But we could go and get a few of them in the US over the summer, Peter, anyway, can't we?
No.
It's the main reason why I'm coming, Peter. To see the real McDonald's,
Real McDonald's, Mark, if you want to go to McDonald's while we're in the States, I don't. There's nobody. No. Yes. So Victor Boniface will not be back this week. He just started individual running training this week, so he's not back yet. We have to take into account something very, very important here, namely that both Diomande and Gruda are carrying injuries. You mentioned players; they are quite crucial. Gruda got injured for the Germany U21s. As a matter of fact, so did your favorite boy, Top, suffered a season-ending ankle injury, which means nothing whatsoever. But Thune's Werder, as you mentioned, they have won 3 of the last 4. No one would have predicted that they would explode for 4 goals against Union Berlin the other week. It's absolutely insane. Jens Stay, I think it's pronounced Stay. I have the pronunciation right. I always said Stage because I like the nickname. All the world's a stage. Stay, and he is also carrying a slight injury as well, which is significant considering he is the club's top goal scorer. I actually really do like this Werder under Thune, and I think that Leipzig not only, with Diomande and Gruda carrying injuries, that's quite big. As a matter of fact, Gruda not so much. I think you could probably bring in what's that guy's name?
Bakayoko.
Yeah, you could bring in him, and that would be just fine. But how do you replace Diomande? That's a very interesting scoring threat. You mentioned, of course, Baumgartner being as spectacular as he is. That should probably make the difference in the final analysis. But I have some other news from the U21s. So, of course, I cover my U21s every international break. Not only did the U21s get rid of Kekatop and injure Brian Gruda, but we also had an incredible international break for Mio Backhaus, who got 2 starts. Dennis Simon, the Stuttgart loanee, who's at Paderborn, he fell ill. So Backhaus played in both games, kept a clean sheet in both ones, made some, not just incredible saves, but was also just eating up those crosses, passing very strongly out of the back. He really looked an incredibly confident player. And I think that he may be in for a very, very stellar performance here as well. So, and Karim Koulibaly, he didn't feature much for the U21s, but he got some action. He got his feet wet. He was able to come in off the bench. And I think that some injuries, some other injuries for Werder have gotten good time to heal. Mbangula should be fit. Milosevic should be fit. Maybe it doesn't matter that Amos Pieper is once again fit, as little as Top's injury. But this will be my first upset special of the week, and I will go ahead and tip a 1-1 draw between these two sides.
Interesting. So let's move on. Let's continue with this kind of bumper Halbvier special this weekend. So we've got obviously people's hit list this weekend. Gladbach versus Heidenheim. What can you say? Obviously, Gladbach, I think the first man we've got to mention is Tabakovic, really. Obviously scored a penalty in that famous Bosnia win over Italy, which went down. I think it sent shockwaves all over the world, really, with Italy missing their 3rd World Cup in a row, incredibly, and going out to little old Bosnia-Herzegovina, which was a hell of a performance. And Tabakovic was a big part of that as well. He played incredibly, they got 2 shootout wins as well, one in Wales, in Cardiff, and then just a few days later in Zelica as well, in Bosnia. Absolutely incredible. But I guess he'll be pretty tired because he played, I believe, all of those 240 minutes of those matches, plus the shootouts. So, yeah, that could be an issue for Gladbach. Obviously, our boy Kleindienst is still out. It just doesn't seem like he's ever going to come back, really, at times. Maybe Tabakovic, he could go either one or two ways in this one. He's either going to be knackered, basically, or he's going to be really fired up and wants to, back up his performance against Italy with what would be a big win for Gladbach too, because they're also far from safe as things stand. And this is a game that they'll have targeted as a must-win in many ways. As for Heidenheim, obviously it's last chance saloon. It's basically over for them, let's be honest. I worked out that they're going to have to win probably 6 out of the last 7 games to stay up, in my eyes. And this is a game that they're literally going to have to win if they want to have any chance. They're probably not going to do that. Obviously, they're going to be looking at who've they really got to score goals nowadays? Schimmer. They might have to give our boy Schimmer a go. And he's not really had much game time. Ibrahimovic has been a disappointment really this season for me. Even Dinkchi, who's done okay, by the way, but he's still not been able to get enough goals and assists to really kind of fire anything into this Heidenheim side. I think you've got to give credit to Heidenheim because they're still fighting. They got that 3-3 with Leverkusen just before the break, which they came back from 2-0 behind and 3-2 behind to draw. So that they are trying, but it is going to come to an end, unfortunately, for the FCH, which is quite sad, really, in my eyes, because they are pretty much a cult club on this channel at this point. And Frankie Schmidt will be missed. But as for this game, I'm going to go for probably quite a low-key 2-0 Gladbach win, I think, here. I think Gladbach do tend to win the games that they have to. I think they've got a few form players at the minute, but yeah, I don't expect too much from this one, but a 2-0 Gladbach win. Peter?
Yes, Schmidt has already conceded the relegation race, and so, but they will go down swinging. They will, and they have some good performers in She, as we mentioned. Ibrahimovic saw a little bit of action for the U21s over the break. And, I mean, they've been a little bit unlucky this season because there's plenty of games in which they played well. They played optically good football, but they just didn't have the finishers up front. And of course, they are a cult club because we love to make the Stefan Schimmer gags about, Gundelfingen. And we love to highlight the differences between Sir Lord Calvin Conte and Christian Joe Conte.
Christy Joe.
Christy Joe, I tell you, that windmill cut your head clean off, Christy Joe, but your head grew back in good. Those are we have Sir Lord Calvin Conte and his American cousin from Alabama. But in any event, Gladbach have really, I had a feeling that they were going to get above the relegation fray eventually. And indeed, they also produced 3 goals in another 3-3 draw, the Rhein Derby. That's the end of Lucas Kwasniok, just before the international break. I scouted a little friendly that they had against Osnabrück as well. And there were some players who remained behind, even though they were worthy of the national team. You had Hugo Bolin, the Swede, who I think is one of the best transfers of the January transfer window. You have this young kid, Wael Moya, who scored a goal in the Osnabrück match. You had Kevin Stöger, who is going to be working for Austria this year, thanks to what he's doing. And I'll give Heidenheim some credit and say that they do score a couple of goals here. And I'll tip a 3-2 Gladbach win. Gladbach, I think they're capable of scoring 3 goals. Watch me be proven wrong. But I think that they can. I mean, the only real concern I have is that Kastrup, I think, is carrying an injury from international duty with South Korea. And that may affect them a little bit. But and I think Hack is still out. Yeah, is he? No Robin Hack, double puck this year.
Gone for a while now, I think, Robin. Yeah, it's
yeah. So you don't have anybody on the left, but you could put Stöger there. Or you could even move up Lukas Ulrich, who I think had a fantastic international break with the Germany U21s. It's funny, Lukas Ulrich was always like the butt of that joke. When you looked at him and Luca Netz, you were like, this is the paper bag weight boxing championship of the world. You know how they were both competing for slot. Yeah, I mean, he turned in some beastly performances for the U21s. I was all of a sudden thinking to myself, hell yeah, it was. Where did Nets move? Derby?
No, it was. I think Nottingham Forest. I think it was.
Did he go to Forest? Okay, yeah. So fuck that. They should have picked up Ulrich. He's the real paper bag weight champion. So we'll go ahead with 3-2 for the Niederrheiner in this one.
Not bad at all. So let's move on to an interesting game, Hoffenheim-Mainz. What can you say about the Turnsport? They have kind of fallen off. We all thought they were a shoo-in for the Champions League about a month ago, but it's gone pretty wrong for them, let's be honest. I mean, starting with that horror performance against Pauli, where they were kept to a shutout, largely thanks to another Bosnia hero, Vasil, that particular day. He had an absolute storming game. Then they followed that up with a draw at home to Wolfsburg, and then obviously that 5-0 loss against Leipzig. So they find themselves outside the top 4 for the first time in a long, long time. I guess months, I would imagine, the last time they were outside the top 4. And this all of a sudden looks like a tricky fixture for them because obviously Mainz come in on form. They had that brilliant derby win over Frankfurt just before the break as well, which Mainz fan over here, and he was absolutely buzzing about that 2-1 win that they got over the Rhein-Hessen. Yeah, that was very impressive indeed. And I think we're starting to see them back as well. I would say Mainz are back, really. You know, the Europa Conference League matches have kind of pushed them forward. I think Becker deserves credit. I've been impressed with Becker. I said at the time he was a good sign, and I think he's given them the legs. I think he's been really good. Sano continues to be on form. By the way, he played against England in midweek and really impressed as well. So he looks like a player that they'll have a real job to keep him over the summer, because there must be bigger clubs on the move for him, I would imagine. Even Silas, okay, he's not been consistent, but he's provided a few moments of quality. I think probably the only one from the January signings that's not done that well is probably Teets, really. But in general, I think it's looking good for Mainz, and I think they're going to stay up quite comfortably now. And they'll be looking at this game all of a sudden, thinking, maybe we could there and get something out of this. Probably a month or two ago, they would have been big underdogs coming into this one, the North Umphers. But for me, this is my first big shock of the weekend, Peter. This is going to be my first big turn-up result. And I'm going to go for a 2-1 Mainz win here. I think we are starting to see the kind of collapse of Hoffenheim. I don't believe this is a blip. I think it's a loss of form completely of key players. And I think Mainz are going the other way. I think they're going to get another key win here, which is going to push them to the brink of survival. I believe a win here would put them up to 32, 33 points. So they'd be on the brink at that point. So for me, they will get that shot win and take it back to the Rhineland-Pfalz. Peter, what are you going for?
Yes, I agree with you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Silas is actually out for the season.
Is he gone? Is he done now, Silas? Oh, that's a pity.
Yeah, he is. But the good news is that this has accorded Paul Nabel a chance to step up, and he has really delivered. I guess all of anybody from Ireland who's watching this is going to be quite excited about that and the prospect of him switching his allegiance through his maternal grandmother, just like Paul, as a matter of fact. So, if we learned anything just before the international break, that was a historic 2-0 home victory against Sigma Olmütz, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm not really a Czech guy. But that was amazing that they did that, and they punched through the quarterfinals of the Conference League. And just like Freiburg, on a tight turnaround, in this case with almost no squad rotation, they were able to get the upset victory over Eintracht Frankfurt at home. That was amazing. And Nabel was good, as you pointed out. Becker's good. You're a little hard on your boy Teets, your former Augsburg friend. But he does draw coverage, and he does work those deep drops a lot. So it helps him. I mean, it helps players, like Becker, like Nabel, like Lee. Sano is just amazing, period. Push forward at the right moments. And that's incredibly important. So I think, before the international break, we learned that Mainz can beat just about any given team on any given day. They can defeat everybody, except when it comes to Anwar El Ghazi in a court of law. You can't seem to beat him. And even Nelson Viper got a goal for the Germany U21s over the break. Granted, Ulrich, did all of the work, but Viper got his goal. So, I'm going to go. This was a strange one because I think that Mainz are going to win. How exactly they're going to win, I'm not entirely sure. Ordinarily when that back three of Kor, Posch, and Da Costa are usually good for at least one error. But I'm going to go for them keeping the clean sheet in this one. And
wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Daniel Bot's also very good keeper. Great story too. He's just like Stefan Schimmer. I mean, he was butcher football and working his way up. 1-0 to the Rheinhessen.
Wow.
Not the Palatinate capital city club, even though they're technically the capital of the Palatinate. If you want, I can put on some Kaiserslautern tunes, but we've already two songs this podcast. So.
I don't know about Loughton, to be fair. After what we experienced 2 weeks ago, I've not seen you. I don't know.
What the hell? Screw you.
Yeah, I'm still buzzing about that
Oh, you
To be
buzz
fair,
all
I'm
you
still
want.
buzzing
You
about it.
buzz all you want.
Anyway,
Still-
talking about interest. Yeah, yeah. We'll be there next time, Peter. We'll be there together again the next time those two sides meet, which will unfortunately be in the Zweite again next season. But anyway, let's move on to yet another Halbvier kickoff, and it's an interesting one too. Quite an interesting matchup. This one, Hamburg Augsburg. A long trip on an Easter weekend for the Fuggerstädter in this one, or the Augustus Vindelicum, as we probably should call them nowadays. I'm not sure how many Augsburgers are going to make that trek north, to be honest with you, because it's pretty much as far as you can get in Germany. It's going to be like, what, 700-800 kilometers one way for that one. Peter's got his AV cap on as well. But yeah, as for the game, what can you say? I mean, obviously, first thing we need to point out is that Augsburg obviously won this fixture, the reverse fixture in this one, 1-0 in what was a very cold November afternoon on a Saturday. This game, obviously, both sides were in much worse positions in the table at that time. I think at the time the game was like 16th versus 15th or something like that. Both teams have definitely improved since then. But obviously Augsburg do come onto this game on the back of a 3-match losing run again. I don't feel as though they played terribly badly, particularly the game against Leipzig. They should have got at least a point out of that one, possibly even 3, really, I felt. But the last 2 performances have dropped off a bit. I felt as though against Dortmund they were poor. They just didn't really create anything. They weren't poor, but it was just one of those very easy wins, really, for Dortmund. And then last week, obviously, 2 weeks ago now, the kind of, very poor first half against Stuttgart, where they were just battered, really, in that one. So there is a bit of pressure on the FCA, even though the FCA are 10th, and you would think, okay, 10th at this stage of the season, you're comfortable mid-table, but they are only 7 points clear of the playoff spot. So all of a sudden, if Pauli win a game, then it goes down to 4 points, and you're right back in a dogfight again all of a sudden. So the FCA need a win. So do Hamburg, because even though their performances for me have been really good in recent weeks, they're still not picking up the results that they deserve. Obviously, before the break, there was that crazy, the 3-2, where I thought they were brilliant in that game. And the referee really didn't do them much justice in that particular match. I felt as though Dortmund got a couple of very soft penalties, to be honest, in that one. But as for the performance, there was a lot to take away from Hamburg. I felt as though it was a very strong performance for at least 70, 75 minutes in that one. And they'll come into this one as favourites for me. I feel as though they are overall, probably, as much as I hate to say it, they are a better team than the FCA this season for me. The FCA are probably still going to stay up this year, but there's still a lot of work to do in the summer in terms of like rebuilding the spirit of Torup in my eyes. But as for the game, I think it's a big game. It really is. I mean, for me, the winner of this game is more or less safe. If Hamburg win it, they go to 33 points. If Augsburg win it, they go to 34. We all know Peter's famous 35 number basically means that you're safe. So I would say with 6 games to go after this, both teams are going to feel very, very comfortable indeed. But unfortunately for me, I am going to go for quite a comfortable HSV win. I just feel as though they will finally get the win that the performances have deserved in recent weeks, and that they'll just have a little bit too much for this kind of off-form back line of Augsburg at times. So I've gone for a 3-1 win for the HSV in this one. Peter?
I will disagree with you here. And first and foremost, the Augustus Vindelicum swag. Whenever I come back to the States with my swag pack collected from my German travels, the Spielvereinigung Greuther Fürth swag goes away first because everybody wants a damn shamrock. Everybody wants a shamrock. I have found no takers for this yet, even though I think that historically it's really but nobody wants this. When I explain Augustus Vindelicum, they're like, what?
They think it's Aston Villa, I guess.
Well, that would be cool too, wouldn't it? That's a cool club. Anyways, there's I think actually that Augsburg, even though HSV are in better form, Augsburg are going to take this one, and this is the day. A few weeks back, when Augsburg picked up their 31st point in the Bundesliga, I texted you and we discussed the fact that there were only, 4 more points to go for them to reach safety. However, the remaining fixture list at the time was brutal. So where were they going to get these additional 4 points from? They've not won since that 2-1 win over Köln. They have understandably lost to Leipzig, Dortmund, and Stuttgart. And now they have their first chance to actually claim 3 vital points. And I think they're going to do it because we have the international break and players returning to take into account. Now, Anton Kade and Mert Kumur both represented the Germany U21s over the international break. They played their last match on Tuesday, and both of them were phenomenal. They were just excellent. They were doing various tactical assignments there in Antonio de Salvo's 4-3-3, and they rose to the occasion on every occasion. And I think that they're going to be coming back 4 days rested, full of confidence, and they're really going to make something happen in the FCA attack. What do we have going on with HSV? Well, perhaps the greatest Bundesliga summer signing in several years, besides Harry Kane. Luka Vuskovic is coming back from a trip to the States, and he's not even going to be in Germany until Thursday. So how does HSV work without Luka Vuskovic? I mean, it's like being a paraplegic stripper. I mean, you can do it. It's just you can't do it as well as the others. It's possible. But anyway, so without Vuskovic, I think you're going to have a soft HSV backline. And I think that Banks also, is he coming? I forget whether or not he's coming back from U.S. men's national team duty or not. But Kevin Schlotterbeck is fully rested and playing better than his younger brother. Arthur Chavez is also fully rested and ready to have a stormer. Finn Dahmen didn't have anything to do over the international break. And Hababeu is actually available for selection. That would be fantastic, don't you think? So I will give this one to FCA, and I believe that they are going to pull out a 2-1 away win.
FCA. Yeah, anyway, let's move on to the game of the weekend, Peter. So it is going to be the Topspiel, isn't it? And it's going to be a hell of an Easter Topspiel between the VfB Stuttgart and the BVB from Dortmund. So go on, Peter, I'll let you lead us out on this one.
Well, I have terrible news for Rory because Rory's Stuttgart actors who were called up to the German national team, without exception, all performed terribly. I have to include Dennis Undav in this, who did score the game-winning goal against Ghana, but it was Leroy Sané who did all of the hard work in setting him up. He just had a poacher's finish. And I still side with Dennis Undav in the feud that he's having with Julian Nagelsmann because, my feelings on Julian Nagelsmann. And I love Dennis Undav to death. But, it's been his international break was essentially an unwelcome break, an unwelcome distraction for him due to the blazing form that he's been in. And Demirovic also coming back from the international break, somewhat tired, as I'm sure. Let's talk about the Stuttgart players playing for the German national team. Angelo Stiller received a call-up due to late injuries to Felix Nemecha and Alexander Pavlovic. This was his big chance, his big audition. It did not go well. He was slower than Pascal Gross in midfield. I don't know how that was physiologically possible, but it just didn't work. Wagnermann had a nightmare. Actually, the whole German right-back situation is a little bit of a nightmare. I hope that we need to get Tom Bischoff trained at that position and get Kimmich back in midfield as soon as possible. Chris Führich was awful. I mean, and Alexander Nubel also had some shaky moments passing out of back. And all of this took place in front of the hometown crowd in Stuttgart.
Maybe a bit too much pressure in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, if there is any good news for Stuttgart fans, Nico Schlotterbeck also had a terrible international break in that he played terrible, and his statements to the media about this contract extension that he had supposedly agreed to with Sebastian Kehl before they sacked Sebastian Kehl and brought in Nils Ole Book. By the way, that's the pronunciation. It's Book, not book, as some people might be prepared to do that. So Schlotterbeck is having a little bit of a nightmare too. The good news is that Waldemar Anton didn't appear at all, so so he's very well rested, of course. It is a top spiel right there in front of the Cannstatter Kurve. So I mean, you would fancy Stuttgart in this case, but they're carrying a lot of players who had a very, very bad international break, and I believe Leveling is struggling with some muscular injuries as well. Dortmund, of course, have a lot of people who are returning. Nemecha is not going to be available to play. But I like what I've seen from Joe Bellingham recently. I think that you beg to differ, good sir, but I like what I've seen from him, and I think that Dortmund will win this one, and I think that they're going to shut a very confused Stuttgart offense out. I'm going for a 2-0 away victory for Dortmund in this one.
Yeah, it's a tough one to predict because, I mean, obviously we all know that Stuttgart have a great record over Dortmund in recent years as well, particularly since Hoeneß came in. They've definitely had the bit between the teeth against the BVB, and even the reverse fixture, I think, Dortmund had the lead a number of times in that game. I think they had 2-0 and 3-2, and they couldn't get over the line. And it was actually a Denise Undav hat-trick in that game, wasn't it? Which gave the point to Stuttgart. But they've not enjoyed the trips in recent years to Stuttgart at all, the BVB. But I agree that things seem to be a little bit different this season with Dortmund. They just seem to know how to win games. Yeah, I know it's an English cliche a little bit, that one, but they find ways to win games. It's rarely pretty with them, but they've become a very good game management team, really. It surprises me a little bit that the BVB fans still aren't really impressed with what they've done this season at all, from what I've seen online. A lot of them seem very unimpressed. But if you look at their points tally, they're going to get one of the highest points tallies they've had probably since the Klopp era. And they're probably not going to win the league, but I mean, they're not miles behind. They're probably the best Bayern team in a long, long time. So, I mean, you've got to give them credit. Obviously, they found a way to win against Hamburg the other week as well, despite not playing the best for most of the game. But having said that, I'm one of those guys, whenever I'm tipping results, I always go with previous form. I love to tip previous form in these fixtures. And I think Dortmund have a lot of bad memories from the game. And as you say, they have issues themselves. Obviously, Schlotterbeck got panned in the German media as well for his performances, and never seems to really perform to his top level for the German national team, and that'll probably play on his back a little bit. And maybe these contract negotiations as well, with apparently Man United and Liverpool circling around him, that could put him off. And for me, Undav is the real deal. I disagree with Nagelsmann big time on that. I think they've got to take him to the World Cup, and they've got to get him started as well, in my eyes. I think he just screams of being that typical German poacher kind of player in a major tournament, like a closer, these kind of Thomas Müller. These guys also weren't the best footballers in the world, but what they did is scored goals, and they were great finisher. They knew how to score goals, but technically they weren't. Obviously, I love Klose as a Nuremberg man, and he was an amazing player, but he wasn't the kind of guy that's going to go and dribble past 5 players, and score a goal. But for me, Undav has to go, and I see him getting on the score sheet in this one as well, continuing his great form against the BVB. So I've actually gone for a 3-2 to Stuttgart, but it should be an interesting top spiel. I'm not fully sure which way it's going to go, but once again, Peter and I disagree on this one. That's a few we've gone against each other actually this weekend, isn't it? So yeah. Anyway, let's move on to a game that probably won't have quite as many people excited about. It's the hipster derby, as we call it on the Bundesliga show. It's the hipsters will be out in force in this game as St. Pauli visits Union Berlin. So, Peter, I know you love this kind of fixture, so I'm going to let you lead us out on this one.
Oh, for God's sakes, man! Okay. The German hipsters are different from American hipsters. Okay, they don't, they're not obsessed with ordering gluten-free bread or something like this. I mean, this is German hipsters are cool. Don't don't be disparaging my German. This would be more like the this would be like the Ärzte Ich bin dagegen derby. The German political advocates who are just against everything for the sake of being against it. Everything.
True.
Yeah, I mean, you never know if either one of these two teams is in the mood to score goals. You just don't know. I mean, in any given time, every time you tip a 0-0 draw involving one of the two teams, somebody wakes up and scores a bunch of goals. We talked a little bit earlier in the pod about how St. Pauli and part of it was, and Alexander Blessen going off on the referee and all of this stuff because it just said they blew an excellent opportunity to get above the relegation fray in that in that Freiburg match at home at the Milan-Tor. And I was covering the presser. Even Julian Schuster he felt bad about the victory. He was just sitting there like, I hope I get to play against you guys next season. Please don't get relegated. We'd much rather have Hoffenheim and Wolfsburg relegated. Oh, I just don't know. I mean, at the moment, I think Sinani is still spearheading the Keats kicker attack. Is that a huge problem? No, but he needs to get back behind the front axis because he's more of a link-up player. He's more of a distributor, and you need two strikers. You simply need two. And who are they going to be? Huntanji and Kars? I don't know. That's kind of a strange mix. You just don't know. I mean, if Saliakas is fit, maybe he continues.
Another assist, maybe.
Yeah. Well, the man is he is just one angry Greek dude. I mean, he is just like he's like he doesn't even have a unibrow, but he has that look. If he looks at you, you would think that he had a unibrow, but no, he doesn't. He is, yes.
I like the fact that you've checked as well, Pete.
Well, I mean, it happens to every man. Sometimes you forget to do the plucking. It just happens. But anyway, okay, I should probably shut up here. Okay, I don't know how to tip this one, Mark. I'm sorry. I'll tell you what. I'll go for a 1-0 Union Berlin victory. It's going to be a boring as hell match. But if you want to tune into it on Easter Sunday, I bet you there's going to be some great choreo, some great pyro, maybe even some awesome protests from the Union faithful. So I'll go 1-0 on this one.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are going to be looking at this as a low-scoring game. You just look at both of these attacks and you don't see goals. Like, goals just don't shout out to you. And as you've already mentioned, you went into depth on Pauli, Peter, but also Union's attack doesn't look that much more appetizing either, really, at times. I mean, Anza obviously got off to a great start this season. He really did, but hasn't, for me, in 2026, really replicated that form. Illich I think he's actually got 7 or 8 assists, but he's only got 1 goal, and he's just lost the finishing touch. And then Chris Burke he has to be the weirdest player I've ever known in football history. Like, his whole career is just like loan here, loan there. Like, he has 3 or 4 great games and then goes missing for like the rest of the season. Basically, it's like, and when he's good for those 3 or 4 games, you think, my God, they got a player on their hands here. But then he just literally never repeats that form for the rest of the season.
It got you so confused that you called him Chris Burke?
Chris Burke, sorry. Yeah, Oliver Burke, sorry. I always call him Chris Burke. I think it's because I know a guy called Chris Burke, actually, yeah. So, yeah. But, yeah, Ollie Burke, yeah. But whatever, his whole career is just absolutely bizarre. Like, I don't know I don't even think he knows where he is these days. Like, every single year is at a different club. either on loan or permanently. Like, nobody knows whether his Scotland career is going to kick off again. It's just absolutely. I mean, English people have known about him for literally about 15 years because he came up on the scene when he was very young. I think like 16 or 17 years old. But his whole career has just gone the same way. Just 3 or 4 great games a season, and then absolute rubbish from then on, basically. And yeah, a lot of people are going to be thinking this is a 0-0 draw, but I actually think that Pauli are doing quite okay at the minute. I think Blessing has got them firing, and they were a little bit unlucky to lose that game. They should have had at least a point against Freiburg, really. They kind of fell apart the last 30 minutes of that one, really. But for me, they're going to have regrouped. I don't think many of those players went off to international duty, to be honest with you. So I think they'll have had a good amount of time to drill, work on those mistakes, and I actually think they're going to get a 1-0 away win. I'm going the opposite way of you. I feel as though it's a bigger game for Pauli, and they will target this match as a must-win, really, because Union this year, they've not been very good at home, weirdly. They've not been as good at home as what they normally are for me this season, Union. So I have gone for a 1-0 away win. I've no idea who's going to get the goal, really. Probably Saliakis as well, the man with the unibrow, we can call him now. Anyway, let's move on to what is quite an appetizing game between two of Germany's biggest clubs, Frankfurt, Köln, Peter. So go on, I'll let you lead out on this one and tell us what you think.
Well, rest in peace, Lukas Kwasniok. I will miss his goofball, crazy, ranting, raving pressers in which he stopped making sense and went on and on and on and on. But ultimately, he had to go because he was making too many weird personnel selections. He was definitely not the trainer to truly groom Said Al-Mala for future in the Premier League, probably. And I really, I think Rene Wagner, I actually like it. Rene Wagner is a former Stefan Baumgart protege. He was assistant coach with Baumgart at Köln previously, and also he followed him to Hamburger SV and briefly at Union. So he looks like a good appointment. The Powerballs are back after what has been a bad season for Powerballs.
Not Ilse, though. Ilse's done well until now, anyway.
It's right. Well, I mean, I still remember the name Paul Simonis, but I don't think I'll remember it.
And Eric Ten Hag as well.
Yeah, Eric Ten Hag too. Yes, so I think Rene Wagner is a good appointment. And I think that he can put together something quite workable here. Said Al-Mala had an excellent international break for the U21s. Jakub Kaminski has been playing really lights out. I think that he's a great player and just a wonderful loan signing. He doesn't want to go back to Wolfsburg, so he wants to make a case for being signed permanently. You know, somebody like Wagner can get Köln back to basics. Basically, what you need to do there is you need to have Johannesson and Kraus in midfield. Definitely go, with a back four bracketed by Sabulensson and Lund, with Van der Berg and Simpson Pusey, and they have also had time to get healthy. He can get them back to basics, and Ragnar Ache for the German national team is my my impassioned plea of the week. I think he's good enough to of course, everybody's talking about Tresoldi because he had such a great international break with the U21s. Aka can't play for the U21s because he's too old, but that doesn't matter. Bring him on to the German national team. Ragnar for Germany. With Frankfurt, this act of Albert Riera is running a little bit thin among Germans. And I have done my Albert Riera impersonation on this podcast before, and I'm going to do it again because you know what happened before the break? He dropped Mario Götze from the squad, which you don't do. You can do it, but it's kind of like being that paraplegic lap dancer I was talking about earlier, isn't it? He did it, but he got combative with a German reporter who asked him about it at the post-match press conference. And Germans have been very, very supportive of Albert Riera, even though he doesn't speak any German. First guy since Steve McLaren to not speak any German as a Bundesliga trainer. And but he went nuts on this reporter. He was like, "You make me question, I make you question. You tell me which players I put on. For I am Albert Riera, I am Freta, I am Magic, I am James Bond. All right. No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die." I think that was Goldfinger. Actually, I can't have a German villain and a Spanish trainer. That didn't come together. But oh well. The point is that this, fuerta thing is running, is running thin, and they did lose to Mainz at home prior to the international break. Obviously, Frankfurt have the superior squad. Burkhardt was not on international duty due to recovering from the injury. I think, actually, Burkhardt would be more of a poacher striker, I think, than Undav. One of the reasons that Undav is not such a great fit for the international team is that he's so tactically diverse. He can play as a 10, he can play as an 8, he can play as a 9, he can play as a halb 9, as Germans call it. He can play as a false 9, he can play everywhere. So Undav is too complex tactically. Burkhardt's just pretty much a straight finisher. So yes, I am going with the upset here. And I am saying that Erste FC Köln will eke out a 1-0 victory over Eintracht Frankfurt in the second Easter surprise.
Yeah, interesting one. Yeah, I mean, I think René Wagner obviously comes in with good reviews, and I think he's an interesting appointment. He's definitely one that I believe that if he keeps him in the division, I think he'll get the job moving forward. I think he's not one of those kind of interims where they're just like, let's pray we get through this season and then we can do it. I think he is the kind of guy that maybe could. He believes in himself a lot, and I think he is the kind of guy that if they do put something together these last 7 games, then he could keep the job ahead of next season, really. I did see a few jokes going around that Friedhelm Funkel was going to come back in at Köln, but surely not. I mean, how old is he? I did see that Roy Hodgson's just got another job at the age of 78 in England, by the way. He's just got another full-time job as well, I believe.
Actually, they were seriously considering bringing in Friedhelm Funkel. That wasn't a joke. They almost did it.
Freddie. Yeah. It's but anyway, regardless, I do think this is an interesting matchup because I think I totally agree. I was one of Krasniok's biggest critics by the end. I think he was but I still think it's a decent Köln roster, to be honest. I don't think it's like a relegation roster, but he was just massively messing it up. His team lineups were poor. His substitutions were poor. His game management was poor. And from all the great memories we have of him in August and September running around with the Köln shirt, he ended up being like just a bumbling idiot, basically, by the end. It was like, and I think they needed to change. And I think Wagner looks a lot more like ready to keep Köln in this division and at least realize the players he's got, because they really backed him well, and obviously we've had the breakout year from El Mala as well. So for me, there's no excuses for this Köln side being on such a poor run in many ways. As for Frankfurt, it's fizzling out to be a bit of a nothing season for them, really. And I agree with you, Peter, that Riera has not really improved things on Topmüller at all, in my eyes. And I'm a little bit worried. I don't think he's going to get judged on this season much because, the season was already kind of over, really, by the time that Topmüller was sacked. They knew they weren't going to get in the Champions League. They were already out of Europe and the Pokal. But it doesn't seem to be going that well, really, in many ways. And he's got most of his squad is back fit as well, and he's still not really getting a tune out. A lot of those players that were playing really well early doors, like Chanuzun, who got 6 goals in his first 7 games this season, has just gone AWOL in recent months. And I think obviously Chaibi, who started the season really well, also hasn't been as good. Burkhardt is back, but obviously had a lot of injuries previously in the season. Although he's done well when he has been on the pitch, they still have issues defensively. Robin Koch continues to make mistakes. Namandi Collins and Brown haven't really built on last season this year, in truth, as far as I'm concerned. So I definitely think it's an opportunity for Köln. But I don't think they're quite ready to go to the Deutsche Bank Park and win, in my eyes. I don't think they're quite going to get the win there, but I think they're going to get a draw. I've gone for a 1-1 draw in this one. I think it'll be a good start for Wagner, but, you know, still keep them in relegation trouble, ultimately, if they can only pull a point out of the game.
I'm going to amend my pick and say that it's a 1-1 draw, too, as a matter of fact. Yeah. I think Riera, I think Burkhardt's good for a goal. But I still don't like Riera. You make me question. I make you question. Who I put in squad other than Mario Götze? No,
I have very good player. I have excellent player.
I tell you, he's running too hot for me.
Yeah, because it was funny because Alonso had a very German vibe. Alonso, he was a Spaniard, but he knew Germany, and he had like he was more suited to the Bundesliga, really.
He spoke excellent.
He didn't have this kind of Spanish temperament around him.
And he spoke excellent German and was just a world-class act. He's welcome back anytime soon.
Yeah, let's hope he does come back. Maybe. Yeah. When Kasper Hjulmand is fired. Yeah, it's Anyway, guys, I think that's enough for today. So if you've enjoyed the show, then don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all of that good stuff. Also, don't forget to find us on social media as well. We are on X, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. So thank you very much. Great to see Peter back on the show as well this week, and I'm sure we'll see you again before long. And we'll see you again on Monday on the other side of the weekend. So happy Easter, everyone, and see you on Monday. Ciao, ciao, guys.